You are listening to the Grow a Group Practice podcast. Whether you are thinking about starting a group practice, are in the beginning stages, or want to learn how to scale up your already existing group practice, you are in the right place. I'm Allison Pigeon, your host, a serial entrepreneur with 4 businesses, one of which is a large group practice that I started in 2015. Each week, I feature a guest or topic that is relevant to group practice owners. Let's get started. Hello, I'm Allison Pigeon, your host. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. If you have website questions, if you feel like your website is lacking and really needs to be overhauled, this is definitely a great interview for you to listen to. I am talking to Austin Kirkland today. He is a senior account executive with a company called Brighter Vision. And Brighter Vision helps therapists specifically to make great websites that convert clients. And his main job is to consult with prospective clients to learn about their business goals and help explain how Brighter Vision can help them potentially grow their practice. So I've actually been a Brighter Vision customer for the past 5 years and have been very pleased with the service that I have received. And Austin and I talk about trends that are happening with digital marketing in terms of the pandemic, how that changed marketing, how things have changed with marketing in terms of being able to reach more people because of telehealth. He also talks about tips for people that have group practices and how to really optimize their group practice website as opposed to an individual solo provider website. So there's definitely a lot of great content here, and I am excited to share with you my interview with Austin Kirkland. Hi, Austin. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much. Appreciate you letting me on here.
Yeah, I think a good place to start would be just for you to give us an introduction of yourself and what you do at Brighter Vision.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Austin Kirkland. I'm one of our senior customer happiness specialists here. I've been a part of Brighter Vision for the better part of 4 years now. So I've been doing this for quite a while. So what I do specifically is I work with prospective clients who are looking to gather more information about our services. So I go over the benefits of having a website, having a proper marketing plan of action in place, and I just see if we're a good fit for them and get them started and help them, ensure that their practice is going to get started on the right foot.
Yeah. So for anybody who's not familiar with Brighter Vision, it is a specific website company for therapists, and they do a subscription model. So you pay a fee every month and then you get unlimited tech support, and they can also make your website for you. So I just wanted to mention that in case people aren't familiar. And I also wanted to mention too, I've had a Brighter Vision website for, I think it's almost now 5 years for my own practice. And I really appreciate the ongoing tech support because that's not my strong suit. And so I really appreciate being able to just email and say, hey, can you fix this thing? Or can we add a page here? So anything else you would add about Brighter Vision in general?
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head as far as, the time commitment it takes sometimes, not just to build the website initially, but the management of it, once it's live. I would say just about every single person I talk to classifies themselves as not being the most technical savvy or not having the time to do the website. And that's the beautiful part about our service is we handle all that stuff for our clients, and we only work with folks in the mental health field. So that really is our specialty. And we have thousands of clients. So we really are experts in working with our clients to custom build a website that's unique to their practice and their clients, but then also being able to market to their ideal clients. That way that they're working with the type of people that they want to work with.
Yeah, I think having that specialization is so important because I find that our field, there's just things that are different about it compared to other types of industries. So I think it's great that you specialize in that area. I was hoping you could share with us some tips for group practice owners in terms of how they have their website set up. So whether or not, they're using Brighter Vision or have another service, like what are just some kind of best practices around how a website specifically for a group practice should look?
Yeah, so there's a number of different ways you can build a group practice website, but I think there's important factors that you want to make sure you absolutely include within that website. The main one being having separate pages, bio pages for each one of the clinicians. This is good for multiple reasons. The primary one is the prospective client can go through and read each person's bio and figure out which clinician is going to be the best fit for them. But from a marketing standpoint, we can actually go into each one of those individual clinicians' pages and say if they have like different specialties, we want to make sure we're marketing for each individual clinician. That way we can drive in new patients for that person specifically. So it'll really help the practice grow for each individual person. Additionally, it's also very important to have contact pages within the website. This is vital, I would say. And I think each clinician under their bio page should have their own if necessary, or you can have one central one. But it's important to make sure that when you have a client actually visiting the website, you want to do everything that you can to make sure that they're going to reach out to you, because it's hard enough to get people to view that website. So when they're there, you want to do everything you can to make sure they're brought in to that practice. And so marketing through search engine optimization via individual pages is a great way to get those people in. And then the contact pages and various calls to action within the website will really help keep those people coming back.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many people have a website where the contact information is not like obvious,
Yeah.
and I know that's one great thing about the Brighter Vision website is it seems like every single website you make, it always has the contact information like in the header and the footer, and then there's a separate contact page. It's very obvious anywhere you go on the website what the contact information is.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of websites that don't do a very good job of that.
Right. Yeah, that always kind of blows my mind in a way, because like I was saying, I mean, it really is hard enough to get website visitors. So you don't want to lose any of that traction. So having those contact pages, really obvious and throughout the website is important, because you want those people reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned about having the separate bio pages for each of the therapists. And I think essentially what you were alluding to is that helps with SEO or search engine optimization.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe that having separate services pages is kind of the same concept as well, right? So you recommend that too, like if you have somebody who specializes in one thing, you'd have a separate page for that. And you have another therapist who maybe specializes in couples counseling, you have a separate page for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that is equally as important, and I'll speak from personal experience. When I was reaching out for a therapist for the first time ever, when I was going through that process, I just knew something was off personally with me. I just didn't really know what that was. So for starters, having a services page is it's a good informational page for that prospective client, because for me, I was reading through those services pages and kind of figuring out, oh, okay, that sounds like what I'm going through right now. This sounds like a good clinician that I should reach out to. And for me, it was anxiety. So it was like, oh, that's what I'm feeling. Okay. But most importantly, having those specialty pages, it does help with the search engine optimization, because when a prospective client goes into Google, once I figured out what it was, I was living in San Diego at the time. So I was searching anxiety therapist in San Diego. So that's what I was searching for. And then all these pages would come up, and it would be therapist websites, but it was specific to that specialty page on their website. So it's just another avenue to help draw in clients to that website. And then once they're there, the contact pages and all that will help them, implore them really to reach out to you.
Yeah, great. And any other specific tips you have about group practice websites in particular?
Yeah, I think one of the common kind of not necessarily mistakes, but things that you can do differently. So a lot of times what will happen is it'll be a single clinician who grows into like a group practice situation. And a lot of times they have their website marketed as their name, which is totally fine to begin with. But if you grow into a group practice scenario, you want to make sure that you're kind of separating yourself from that group practice specifically. So it's good to have a general business name, like happycounselingservices.com or something. And then within that, you can have your specific page, you can have other multiple clinicians pages. So I think it's good for a client's perspective to understand that there's more than one option within that company.
Yeah, that's something we recommend as well, because especially if you imagine one day selling the business, it's harder to sell it when your name's attached to it and you're not going to be there anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, One other thing I wanted to ask about too was just with SEO, if there's particular things that folks could do, even if they don't necessarily know a whole lot about SEO, but just, if they maybe want to start trying to build up their ranking in Google, are there some simple things that they can do?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend creating a Google My Business account. This is really helpful, especially if you're doing in-person practice. That will really help, because a lot of times when I'm placing a search, I will go to Google Maps and actually place my search in there. And if you have a Google My Business account, it'll show up within the Google Maps. So if it's like a location-based search, that's really helpful, because it'll help bring in those people that are around you into your specific in-person practice. So highly recommend setting up an account with that. And from my understanding, I believe that's free.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's one of those things that people don't often think about that can be super helpful, that they don't even bother just going on and claiming like their business,
Right.
their business name. I mean, it's just putting in basic, demographic information and basically claiming, yes, this is my business. And it does help quite a bit with people finding you on Google.
Yeah, yeah, and it's especially helpful too if you have multiple locations, because you can create separate Google My Business accounts for each individual location.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's another thing too, that I ran into along with some other clinicians that I work with. When you start to grow and start to open up additional locations, do you typically recommend that you start a whole new website for SEO purposes and just, to help people find you better? Or do you recommend people just keep all one website and just add the multiple locations, or does it kind of depend on the circumstances?
So we recommend keeping the singular website and adding multiple locations within that website. The reason being is you don't really want to be fighting each website. So if you're doing a really good job on search engine optimization with one site, and then you have a brand new website, which already will take a little bit of time to kind of get up the rankings, because part of Google's algorithm is simply longevity, how long that website's been live. But when both websites kind of get that longevity piece taken care of, at that point you don't really want to be bidding against, if you will, each website. So it's better to have one website with multiple addresses within that site, because we can market to various locations within that single site.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing I was really curious about is obviously when the pandemic started in early 2020, lots of things changed in our industry. Obviously, with everything turning to telehealth, but then I think what came along with that is a change in how practices were marketing. I know in my own practice, we put a lot more time and energy into digital marketing because everybody was at home on the internet. So can you talk a little bit about kind of the shifts that you saw as a result of the pandemic with websites and marketing?
Oh, big time. Yeah. So prior to the pandemic, it was few and far in between people that I was speaking to that were either doing some sort of telehealth or solely telehealth. It was a very rare occurrence. Now it's exactly the opposite. It's a very rare occurrence that I hear about someone who's going to be doing solely in person. So with that being said, there's going to be a lot more competition out there, with websites, because there's an understanding if you're going to be fully telehealth, everything's going to be digital. So therefore, your website's now going to be the face of your business. And so there's more and more therapists out there now getting their website. And so as far as, from a Google standpoint or just general search engine optimization standpoint, you have a lot more competition out there. So it's even more vital now to have not only a website, but a well-built professional looking website with very good marketing, because you're not going to be bidding against. When I say bidding, I mean you're kind of working against other clinicians in your area on Google. So you'll be there's a lot more competition out there now. So you really need to make sure everything is kind of up to date with your website and the search engine optimization side of things. It really is going to be a vital part of the business moving forward.
Yeah. And I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I realized too that before I had really focused our marketing on, who was kind of within a half an hour driving distance of the office. And then I realized, oh, well, now we can market to the whole state. Obviously Pennsylvania is quite large. And so I had never thought about, well, how do I, market to somebody who might be in Pittsburgh, which is 4 hours away from us. So we had to start doing a lot of different things with SEO and using different keywords and things on our website. And I'm assuming you were getting a lot of those same requests from your clients as well, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point you bring up there. Yeah, so now your opportunity has expanded dramatically because instead of, like you said, being within, let's say, a half-hour drive, which is probably what most people are comfortable in driving to an appointment now. But back now we have a statewide feel, right? Because if you're licensed in that state, you can serve anyone in that state. Then, with that being said, we'll have clients who are multi-state licensed, so they want to market to multiple states, which we can do. Then there's also the SIPACT, which there's a group of states now where if you're licensed in one, you're kind of licensed in all. You can practice within all those states. So we have some clinicians who are part of that SIPACT. Then we're marketing to all those states as well. So you really have now kind of an open possibility with the types of clients you can bring in and the areas that you can market to. And we support all of that.
How would you like to fall into cash this month? Every year, my friends over at Brighter Vision kick off the fall season with a month-long digital conference event they call Fall into Cash. For the entire month of September, they'll be teaming up with the top brands, consultants, and coaches in the mental health industry to provide you with the best advice, tools, content, podcasts, and giveaways, all centered around one main theme, helping you grow your practice and make more money. Plus, in celebration of the 5th anniversary of Fall into Cash, they're also offering a very special discount exclusively for Practice of the Practice listeners. From now until the end of the month, they're offering new websites for only $49 a month for your whole first year, plus no setup fees. That's a savings of over $200. For more information and to take advantage of this great offer, head on over to brightervision.com/Joe. That's brightervision.com/Joe.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up SIPACT, and I'll just quickly explain that if folks haven't heard of that before. But essentially, it's like a collection of states got together and is offering reciprocity just for psychologists who are licensed. So I forget exactly the states that are in that compact, or whatever you want to call it. But that brings up a really interesting question, which is, how do you market in multiple states on one website? Like, what are the kind of strategies for that type of situation?
So that can be pretty difficult. So the best way to do that is to find an address within those states, within like a certain city that you want to market to. Obviously, you probably want to hit either the medium populated cities, because if you're marketing, if you're in New York, it's hard to market New York City, not just because there's just a lot of people there, and there's a lot of clinicians there, and there's a lot of competition is what that means. So the more narrow you can get with the search, the better it is. But as far as how we do it within the website, we typically will have separate pages by website, or by state, and then we'll market via that individual web page. So that's how we do it within a singular website. Sometimes, though, we are having clinicians pop up multiple sites for each individual state, which is a different strategy that you can do. That way, you can actually really funnel in specific people to that state. You can get a little more people that way. But there is an extra cost associated to having multiple websites, of course, which can be a pain point for some people, which is understandable. But I think having each individual state with its own page is kind of the best way to go all around.
So does that literally look like there's a drop-down menu that says like, locations, and then there's like, there's a page for Pennsylvania, there's a page for Maryland, there's a page for New Jersey, or whatever? That's
exactly right. Yep, that's exactly how it is. And from a website visitor perspective, I think it's very obvious as to how they should flow through that. But from a marketing standpoint, it really does help separate everything and draw in those people for those specific states.
Yeah. So then, do you have like the same content on each of those pages? Because if it's like one provider who's trying to advertise to multiple states, then like no matter what state you click on, is it the same text, or do you try to make the text different so it's not
We definitely
repetitive?
we definitely try to make the text different for the repetitive reason. If they're just browsing through the different states, you don't want them to visually see the same text there. But from a search engine optimization standpoint, that's not good either, because you don't want to have the same content on multiple pages. So mixing it up a bit is definitely recommended. I understand it does take a little bit of extra time, but we can certainly help aid with some of that. But yeah, having different content across those various state pages would be the best way to go if you have the time for it, which I would recommend. It's worth the extra hour it might take to write the content for those pages, but it'll really help everything else.
Yeah. And what do you think about blogging? Is blogging changed at all since the pandemic started, or is it kind of the same as it's always been?
I would say it's more important now, maybe, because blogging always has been important, but it's extra vital now to do it, because by blogging, you're doing a couple things simultaneously. Of course, you're providing helpful information to the website visitor. They can read a nice article about various different topics that might interest them. But from a website marketing perspective, blogging, what you're doing simply is updating your website on a regular basis. So if you're able to blog, just once a month, that's going to do wonders for the search engine optimization. Because another key factor with how a website will rank over time is simply how often it's being updated. And a blog is a great way to update that website. And what you're telling Google is the information on your website is relevant, because if you're updating every single month, Google's going to say, hey, this is a brand new topic. We want to show this website first, because Google wants to provide helpful information to their end user, which is that person placing the search. And so blogging really helps a ton. I understand it does take some time. We do have a great tool called Social Genie, which will kind of automatically do this for you in a various of topics. But either way, definitely try to get into the habit of blogging. It'll really help the long-term SEO results.
Yeah, that's actually something that we figured out in my practice. Once we got up to page 1 of Google, all we've had to do to maintain it is posting 2 blogs a month. And we've been doing that for years. And
awesome.
Yeah, it helps. And that's pretty much all we have to do. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Social Genie tool? Because I know there's a lot of our consulting clients, therapy practice owners that use it. And I hear good things about it. So can you kind of explain it?
Yeah. So for starters, Social Genie is kind of my baby, if you will. I was actually the employee who named it Social Genie, which is pretty cool. We did like an internal poll. We threw out some names, and mine was the one that won. And my best friend is actually the software developer behind it. So it's just some cool, interesting facts. But what it is specifically, it's a social media marketing automation tool and automated blogging tool. So the best way to describe it, there's 2 halves to it. The first half is it's the social media side of things. So there's a repository of thousands of pre-created therapist-specific social media posts in there. They're all ready to go, and they're organized by specialty. So these campaigns, right? And a campaign is a series of posts under one topic. It'd be like anxiety, depression, trauma, family therapy, etc. And so what a client can do is select one of these campaigns, let's say anxiety, for example, and maybe they want to have an ongoing post on anxiety going out every Mondays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. and want that to reoccur every week for the next year. So they just click that, they set up the timing, they link up their social media accounts, and it'll automatically create these posts for them. And the client would also have the ability to go into this calendar that we have and view the upcoming posts. So you can review them, you can edit them if you want to, you can delete them altogether if you don't like them. But ultimately, when those days and times come around, that post will shoot out to the social media accounts. So that's the first half. The other half is the blogging tool that I was talking about. So very similarly, there's a repository of thousands of blogs in there on a lot of different topics. And so what a client can do is search by keyword. I'll just continue with my example of anxiety. And so when you put in that keyword, there's going to be a number of blogs that will populate based on that topic. And then you can go in, you can read the blogs, you can edit them if you want to, and then you schedule them. So you can say, okay, I want this blog going out tomorrow at 12 p.m. and I want this other blog going out 3 weeks from now on a Thursday at 9 a.m. and it'll just automatically post that blog to the website on those days and times. And if you wanted to, you can link it up to Facebook and LinkedIn, and it'll automatically post there as well.
Yeah, that's great, because I feel like that's one of the big barriers for practice owners to do that on a regular basis, is that they, it's not automated, and then they get bogged down with actually like writing the blog post. And so I think any way you can kind of make that more easy or automatic, then you're going to actually follow through with doing it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's funny. I actually have a website myself. I'm a photographer on the side. It's kind of my hobby, but I blog as well. And there's no blogging tool like that for photographers. So just sitting there, just trying to figure out what to write for this blog. And what's funny is the only reason why I'm doing it is to help with my search engine optimization. But it's so difficult to do that. And I have probably more time on my hands than a typical therapist does. So I can't imagine, that feeling going in there, just first trying to figure out what to write, and then spending an hour and a half writing that blog, and having to do that every other week. That sounds like a lot. So this tool really helps alleviate that pain point, and it'll just automatically do it for the client.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about kind of, looking ahead. Obviously, we're still kind of dealing with the effects of the pandemic, and we're about to go into fall and winter time, and things seem like they're shifting, unfortunately, with just what's happening with COVID-19. So are you, thinking about how that's going to affect marketing or the mental health industry, or how maybe like websites are going to have to adapt? Or do you feel like you've kind of already done all of that at the beginning of the pandemic and it's just going to be more of the same? Or kind of what's your prediction for the future, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, my prediction for the future is telehealth is here to stay. I definitely agree that there is a unfortunate shift coming with this Delta variant and COVID-19 and all that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be another sort of lockdown of some kind coming. So I think what's nice is we've kind of already gone through this. So there has been a lot of learning across the board, whether it be with us or telehealth companies, EHRs, things like that. But with us, we already had our systems in place. So it wasn't really too much of a trial and error process for us to begin with, but we have kind of refined everything. We've really learned sort of based off what we've done with our clients so far who are marketing solely for telehealth. We've learned based off like their analytics and all that, what's working, what's not working. So if anything, when the client comes to us now, the results will be more effective. So we have a very solid understanding, more so than we did a year ago, of how to properly market, a clinician for telehealth. So I definitely think it's here to stay. If anything, it's going to continue growing even more, especially with, I'm guessing, the upcoming lockdown that's probably imminent. So yeah, I think that's here to stay regardless too. Even after everything's all cleared up, telehealth is going to be here to stay. From what I've heard with speaking with clinicians, the therapy seems to still be effective via telehealth. And it sounds like the clients themselves are much more comfortable, taking that session from the comfort of their own home. And there's a lack of no-shows, it seems like. That's a big thing I've been hearing. People are making their appointments more often. So it's definitely here to stay. And I think, given, our experience in the past with everything that's already happened, we're just more refined and we'll be able to market even better in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think telehealth isn't going to go away. And I'm curious too, I don't know if you track this at Brighter Vision, but did you see things shifting in terms of what people were searching for online? Like if they were going into Google and like typing in online therapy more, like what words were they using? Was there a shift when the pandemic started?
Huge shift. Yeah, it was almost always, online therapists, therapists in my state that can help with this problem online. So yeah, the online portion of the search term kept coming up over and over and over again. It was a very typical search, and it was always just added plus online, or telehealth was kind of there. Typically, the clients don't really know that verbiage quite yet. They might now. That's probably going to be something we're going to have to look into, because now everything is telehealth. That was a very big buzzword in the media kind of at the time. So now there probably will be a shift from online to telehealth, I'm guessing. But that was a big thing. Online, that word online was commonly used.
Okay. So it was like they were using online, not virtual or not telehealth or telemedicine.
Yeah, so the telehealth, telemedicine, that didn't really kick in until like 8 months or so into the pandemic when that word was getting used more and more. People started having that knowledge of that word basically. The virtual thing that actually didn't really shift. It's kind of funny. So that was kind of the stayed the same even before and after the pandemic, the virtual part of things. So it sounds like those people already knew what that was. But the online was a big one. I think that's probably for the older clients. Online is probably the more common term that they're searching for. But now telehealth, I think, will probably surpass the online search phrase.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's great because, again, putting keywords into different pages of your website using online therapy sounds like, or online counseling is more effective than using telehealth.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And another thing too, we have some tools we don't have tools, but we know of some resources as well. They're links, but you can actually search and figure out what people are searching for to find various things within Google. So I can send over that link. You're more than welcome to hand out, but it's a great way to get an understanding of which keywords to use when you're writing the content of the website.
Yeah, that would be great. Because, that was something interesting last summer, just because I had recognized that things were shifting with the marketing. I hired a SEO company and they did some of that research and said, yes, online therapy is what the exact phrase people are searching for, like in my area. And I wonder if it varies across the country, like what terms people are using.
It might vary across the country. For us, the reporting on that for all of our clients, it's sort of, we just gather everything, we just kind of mesh it into one big report. So it's hard for us to kind of dial in demographically what people are searching for. As far as the report that I know of, I'm sure if a client asks for that, we can search specifically for that area and see what the more commonly used terms are. But online therapy, it seems like across the board was the highest search term that we were seeing during that time.
Yeah, that's super valuable. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So for folks who want to check out Brighter Vision or maybe want to get in touch with you about, getting a Brighter Vision website or just what you offer, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just want to pick my brain, you're more than welcome to contact me as well. But of course, if you're interested in our website and marketing services, feel free to reach out. But the best way to contact me is either by phone or by email. My direct phone number, you're all more than welcome to call me anytime. It's 303-223-9809. And then also email is another great way. It's simply austink@brightervision.com. Either one of those is perfectly fine. If you want to even text that phone number, you're more than welcome to. Just let me know where you heard me. That way I kind of understand the topic. But yeah, you reach out for anything you might need. I'm not going to try to sell you anything that you don't want. If you just want to learn more information about just about anything, just reach out. That's my job.
That's awesome. That's brave, giving away your phone number. You might get some people texting you in the middle of the night.
I hope so. No, I genuinely love helping therapists. That's a big reason why I like my job. Is it changed my life, and I want to do everything I can to make sure they're successful. Because if they're successful, that means a lot of other people are getting the help that they need. So yeah, I'm here to help any way possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Austin. It's been great talking with you and just really interesting to hear about all the changes happening with websites and marketing. So I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime. And feel free, again, anyone listening, feel free to reach out for anything you might need.
Thank you so much again to Brighter Vision for being our sponsor this week. They are having their special Fall into Cash event. Definitely check that out over at their website, brightervision.com. And if you want to get the promotional offer they're running right now to get a new website for only $49 a month for the whole first year, go to the special link they've set up for us, brightervision.com/Joe. If you are a group practice owner and you feel like you could use some support and new ideas, and maybe you're working too hard and you just think there's got to be an easier way, please check out our membership community called Group Practice Boss. So our group consists of practice owners who have at least 2 other clinicians hired. And we cover everything from hiring to how to be a boss to marketing, all the things a group practice owner wonders about. So you can enroll anytime. You can just go to the landing page, practiceofthepractice.com/group-practice-boss, and check it out. And if it seems like a good fit, please join us. If you love this podcast, will you please rate and review on iTunes or your favorite podcast player? This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. This is given with the understanding that neither the host, Practice of the Practice, or the guests are providing legal, mental health, or other professional information. If you need a professional, you should find one.